Fantastic, and welcome to the 2020 Glunz Tasting Hall. Today we have the great privilege and honor to have hosting today at the Tasting Hall is Georges Vigouroux, which is currently run and owned by Bertrand Vigouroux. Bertrand is with us from Cahors, and what I am going to do is I am going to, and it's not going to be as smooth as I'd like because of the fact that we have, we were just working on it, but I'm going to attempt to move us and share on a very quick flight from here in Chicago to where we're visiting today in Cahors. So let me go ahead and share my screen. And here we are in beautiful Chicago, the first day of fall. We are celebrating and enjoying closer to summer weather here as we are approaching 80 degrees and not much of a cloud in the sky. A little bit of a haze from all the crazy fires going on, but we're going to go ahead and leave our beautiful spot for an even more beautiful space, which is, drum roll please, Mr. Taylor. And here we are in beautiful France. So a nice little view of France, and we're going to be heading down to the central southern side of France to a beautiful region known as Cahors. Cahors is the home of Malbec, the birthplace of Malbec. And within Cahors, we're going to be visiting the wineries of Georges Vigouroux, including the Georges Vigouroux estate, which is where the a fantastic restaurant is. It's also Bertrand's father's home is right there, as well as where the location for the Gouleyant wines are all made. And then we're going to sneak up a little further up by the town of Mercues to Chateau De Marchasse, which is not, you can't really see it too well here, but this is perched up on a beautiful mountainside overlooking the Lot River, and it is just a spectacular spot. Had the great privilege of spending a couple nights there. We have two different vineyards that Bertrand is going to talk to us about here. This is one of their vineyards. It's a 35-year-old Malbec vineyard from the estate, which is all primarily Malbec, Bertrand?
Castagnola.
Fantastic. And then we'll sneak over to a vineyard that we all know the name of by the planting density, which is 6666, meaning that there's 6,666 plants per hectare. Is that correct?
That's correct, Joe. Perfect.
C'est magnifique. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing there. And welcome, Bertrand. Thank you so much for being with us today. I know you are very busy with harvest. It's a little bit of a rainy day there in Cahors.
Yes, today it's a little bit raining, not a lot. I'm so happy to share with you this video. It's my first testing in a video conference. So I'm so happy to do that with all the team and customers from Glunz. That's so great.
Oh, fantastic. Well, as I showed you before, we've all got, we're all being spoiled with some great wine being presented here in the small 2-ounce bottles. So we'll have the opportunity to taste right along with you, which is always fun. It definitely makes Zoom meetings a lot better. So what I'll ask you to do, Bertrand, if you can tell us a little bit about the background of the winery and the estate.
Yes, I could tell you a few words about the company. Of course, Vigouroux family work in Cahors since the 19th century. It's an old family company. I'm the fourth generation. And I'm a winemaker. I make wine since I learned wine making at school 30 years ago. And for the vintage 2020, it's my 32 vintage. My focus is Malbec because, of course, Malbec in Cahors, it's the birthplace. So I want to be an expert about this grape and to rebuild the old story about Cahors, because the story of the vineyard of Cahors was very great, and it was a gold age at the Middle Age, and very important in the 19th century. Malbec was the king of the grape because he was in all the blend that we had, of course, in Cahors, because Cahors was one of the most important vineyards from France, but also it was the most grape in the Grand Cru Classé in Bordeaux in the 19th century. It disappeared in Cahors, it disappeared in Bordeaux at the end of the 19th century after the phylloxera. It disappeared also in Cahors after the phylloxera. It was a big banqueroute for all the winemakers in Cahors, and the population decreased of 50% at the beginning of the 20th century. My dad was the first guy who replanted again the vineyard of Malbec in Cahors at the beginning of the 70s, close to 1 century after the phylloxera in Cahors. And he started to replant one estate where you saw where we make the Gouleyant, and he restarted to run Chateau de Mercues at the beginning of the 80s. Today, that's the most important vineyard from Cahors. We manage close to 150 hectares. We are the first producer of Malbec in France, of course, and we make different style of Malbec between the wine easy to drink, that's mean Gouleyant in French, to the Grande Cuvée, Icon Cuvée, with the Malbec. But also we manage some different vineyards that produce white wines, like Gouleyant Blanc in Sauvignon. And we make also rosé with the Malbec. So today the company is more than 150 hectares, close to 1 million bottles a year in terms of production, and 2 million in terms of sales, because we're selling also some wine from other producers. We have a few shops around the vineyard in Cahors, and we have 2 restaurants. In Chateau De Marchasse, we have a gastronomic restaurant with a 1-star Michelin, just for hospitality around enoturism. And in Chateau d'Auxerre, we have also another restaurant. He has one Bib Gourmand. It's something cheaper than a 1-star Michelin, but with a good value for quality. So 2 restaurants, 1 hotel, Relais Chateau, the most famous high-level chain of hotel in France, and many vineyards around Cahors. So it's a long story, it's a lot of work, and we try to do the best to restore the prestigious past of this great vineyard region, because it's a very strong roots and a very strong history for France, and that's very important for us to restore this past. So I want first to thank you all together, Joe, Glunz company, all the team for Glunz, to help us to restore this legend of France, that's Cahors vineyards.
It has always been a pleasure getting the opportunity to spend time with you, Bertrand, and this is no exception to that, for sure.
Thank you, Joe.
Absolutely. So let's talk a little bit about the wines that we're going to be tasting here today. So we can get started with we have the Gouleyant Blanc as first. We have samples of the 2019 vintage, which we have sold out of the 2018, and we're just expecting our shipment of the 2019 here in our warehouse any time now. But then we will start there. Then we're going to move to the beautiful Georges Vigouroux Chenin de Mercues, which we have there, and that is the 2016 vintage is our current vintage there. Then we have we'll sneak back to the Gouleyant label on the Malbec. And then the two Chateau De Marchasse wines. We have the Vigouroux Vassal de Mercues, as well as the Grand Vin.
Okay.
C'est bon? Is that a good tasting order?
Yeah, it's the right one.
Good. Excellent. So, Christopher Hill, you are usually here in beautiful Chicago a couple, 2-3 times a year. It has been a while since we've seen you, but it's good to see you via Zoom.
It is, yeah. But when we have a normal life, yeah, I'm in Chicago 3-4 times a year.
Especially when, usually you see Christopher in very good shape unless he goes out to dinner with Glashan. And then, then you might not see him until noon the next day. But no, just kidding, Bertrand. He's always working, always working.
Thank you,
and
Joe.
If he's working late, it's always with lots of very important sommeliers and wine buyers.
It is.
So
thank you, Joe.
So we have a couple different labels that you represent or that you produce. One is Gouleyant. Can you tell us a little bit about the Gouleyant label as we taste the Blanc?
Yes, we can say a few words about Gouleyant. Gouleyant in French means easy to drink because we want to do something for drinking with a friend around the barbecue, and something easy and to share with good friend, just to share good moments. My dad started this brand Gouleyant at the beginning of the 70s. It's a long story, but everywhere when he shows this wine and this label, we had a great success with this wine since now close 50 years. So it's not a new brand; it's old brand that we run in all around the world. Sauvignon Blanc is made on a terroir from Gascony, where Sauvignon working very well because you have a white clay in this terroir, and that's easy to make with limestone and the clay. Real interesting Sauvignon Blanc, and for a good value because the vine like this kind of soil and make very good fruit, and that's easy to make Sauvignon Blanc in this kind of terroir. So Gouleyant Blanc is made in Gascony. And the type of wine is interesting because I don't want to work like many wineries that make Sauvignon Blanc like New Zealand, very technological, without maturing grapes. But I prefer so far to make with a white Sauvignon Blanc with ripe Sauvignon Blanc. That's a big difference. I'm more traditional, but with a touch of modernity, because I think it's not modern to make unripe Sauvignon Blanc with always the same noise with pamplemousse, how do you say
Like agrumes.
like agrumes. I want to make something much more floral with flowers and smelling nice white fruits, but not agrumes. That's the way that we choose with Sauvignon Blanc. And in another side, in Gascony, in this place, we could have a nice balance between a ripe Sauvignon Blanc and good level of acidity. As you can see, if you try the wine, you have a really beautiful balance between acidity, is quite high level of acidity, but with a ripe Sauvignon Blanc. That's why I like this kind of wine.
The thing I've always loved about this wine, Bertrand, is that it is very easy. It's very approachable. It is a great wine that you can definitely enjoy without having food, but definitely pairs beautifully with both the level of acidity and the level of fruit flavor to it, that it really comes out well with pairing, as all your wines obviously do with food. Especially from that one-star Michelin restaurant. The amount of lime that I'm getting off of this is really impactful and very, very forward for sure. Now, is this 100% stainless steel, or is there any oak in this at all?
No, any oak aging. It's traditional winemaking in stainless tanks. That's not big tanks. It's more or less 150 hectoliters per tanks, and the yield for in the vineyard it's more or less 9 tons per hectares on that. So it's not a high level of yields. It's not a low level. It's a well-balanced level of yield in each block, and we are harvesting the wine by machine, of course, with this kind of wine, but with high technology, the new technology of the new machine, and we protected the wine a lot against the nitrogen to be sure to have a stable wine and no oxidation in the future, because we want to show this wine and aging this wine 2 or 3 years after bottling it. It's not a wine to aging 10 years. It's for drinking young, but not in 6 months or 1 year. It could work and showing very well during 2 or 3 years.
There's on the bottom of the label, there's a picture of a bridge. Can you explain what that graphic is?
Yes, you have a mini bridge and a very old bridge in southwest in France. You have a lot of old building from the Middle Age, and this is the bridge that's on the Chemin de Saint-Jacques de Compostelle. You know Chemin de Saint-Jacques de Compostelle. A lot of people wants to walk on this road. Between Saint-Jacques in Spain to Le Puy, close to the Massif Central in France, not far from Cahors. And we have the Chemin de Saint-Jacques-de-Compostelle that cross the vineyard of Chateau de Haute when you saw the vineyard from Gouleyant. So this is one of the bridge of Saint-Jacques-de-Compostelle. Is a bridge of the 13th century, and the name of the bridge is the Pont d'Artigues.
Very cool.
And for the other label in Cahors, you have the bridge of Cahors that called the Pont Valentré.
Yes, and that's right in town there, yes?
So that's the roots of our region in France from the Middle Age.
Awesome, very cool. I also love that this is not, the new hot labeling and branding of a new product for just showing off, a great approachable wine. This has been a label of your father's for 50 years, which is spectacular.
I think in the future it will be very modern to save the past.
Yes. Keep repeating that, exactly. So we'll go ahead and move to the Chenin, which is one of the first time that we had the opportunity to taste this wine. It was over dinner in the restaurant at the Chateau, and you had brought out, I believe, a small course of white meat and presented this wine. It had a very heavy sauce of, I believe, another thing that in Cahors is quite popular. Correct me if I'm wrong, but truffles?
Right, remember the truffle, Joe.
It's hard to forget, Bertrand. So what is the connection with truffles and Cahors?
What is the connection with truffle? This is a truffle area, so we have the capital of the black truffle from southwest, that name L'Albinque. It's just close to our vineyards, and we also have planted 1,000 trees to produce truffle. So I'm a winemaker, vine grower, but also a truffle grower. And I have my own dogs. Now I have 2 dogs to harvest truffle in winter. It's a black truffle that's ripe in January and February, and very aromatic, very expressive. And it's very important for our region because a lot of people want to visit us in the winter season, just to share with us a dinner and to harvest some truffle and to have a good aperitif with a fresh truffle that you find in the field during the afternoon. You clean it at 7 p.m. and you drink a glass of good and old Malbec on a toasted bread with your fresh truffle and a little bit butter, and you have a so wonderful and unforgettable aperitif. And a lot of people love this experience and came in Cahors for the truffle. But it's for the gastronomy, it's very important. And I want to tell you one thing very important also. I don't know why, but the truffle aroma is shared with a Malbec aroma also when it is aging. And when you have old Malbec, 10 years or 15 years old, when it's great wine, of course, you have the truffle aroma in the Malbec. And to test old Malbec with good cooking truffles, that's experience unforgettable.
I would agree. That's the one I remember. I think it was we had some small bird with a truffle sauce with the Chenin that I thought was absolutely spectacular, and we brought it in immediately. This is a Chenin unlike most Chenins that Chenin Blanc that is available. Can you tell us a little bit about the Chenin?
Yes, I want I'm really very happy to share with you this bottle of Chenin. Not a lot of people know that at the beginning, before the phylloxera, we had Chenin that planted around Cahors. We had white wine, and of course the red wine with the Malbec. But the white wine, we had Mosaic, a typical grapes from Southwest, and Chenin. And 10 years ago, I was very excited to try to replant it in Cahors. So I did it, and I have planted 1 hectare, just 1 hectare to see what's happened with the Chenin back in Southwest, because everybody knows the Chenin from Loire Valley. And today the Chenin become also very famous because in the south of Africa they make very good Chenin. But 1 century ago we had Chenin in Cahors, and I just want to be back in this fabulous 19th century and to do what the past former vineyard doing in this incredible century, and the result is very beautiful. The Chenin is so fine, very different than of course the Chenin from the Loire Valley. We made it like we could make a very great Chardonnay in Burgundy. We make the fermentation in 400-liter barrels, and we make batonnage like a Chardonnay, and we aging the wine in 1 year in the barrels with batonnage, with limited oxidation. And after 1 year, we bottling the wine. And the result is just amazing. We have the good balance between acidity and it's a wine very expressive and on the, how do you call the atoll, the coin, how do you call coin in English? The coin in English, you know it, Joe?
Say that again?
The coin, le coin.
I don't.
Quince,
yes, for sure.
Yes, quince.
Yes.
And so it's the result. I like it a lot, and it started to be very popular here around Cahors. All my friends who have a great restaurant like Michel Guérard, 3-star Michelin, like Christopher Cotenso, the new star Michelin in La Rochelle, 3-star Michelin, and also Jacques Cousseau, 2-star Michelin, like this wine a lot and say it very, very well. In La Rochelle, you know, it's close to the sea, and so in Magex, or also in the south, we close to Les Prés de Gigny with Michel Guérard, and they use a lot of fish for cooking, and that's pairing very, very well. So it's I'm very happy to did it. So thank you, Joe, to introduce this very confidential cuvée in Chicago for the good restaurant and good wine sellers, because I am sure it's not easy to do the promotion of this kind of wine, because it's not a region well known for the wine, but for people who love wine, who love quality, I think when they share this wine, it could be very happy.
Absolutely. The one thing I love about this setup with the Zoom is being able to have decide, 4 people what they're going to taste, so they don't have an option to say Chenin, Cahors, I'll pass, stick with the Malbec, and then they taste this, and everyone I think is going to be blown away, as I was at Mercues. It's just I believe it is one of the outstanding wines in our book. I absolutely love it, for sure.
And it's interesting for sommelier in a good restaurants or for the wine sellers in the shop to show this kind of wine to the customers, because you show something not usual to see. And that's the work of the sommelier and the wine seller, is to show something different.
Wait.
You see in all the supermarkets.
Absolutely. If there are any questions about the first 2 wines, the whites, please feel free to throw those into chat, or you can go ahead and unmute now and go ahead and voice those questions now if you have that interest.
Yeah, can I chime in here, Bertrand? I don't think, especially here in the States, we're used to seeing Chenin made, especially with the batonnage. And so it was an adjustment, and I really have come around to enjoy the wine greatly. And have you always made it in that way, in terms of in the 400-liter barrels with batonnage? Have you ever done Chenin in stainless, or have you kind of been true to this method? And how have you seen kind of consumers react, both domestically and in the export markets? Are you seeing kind of a growing interest in this more complex style?
To tell the truth, I chose two ways to make the Chenin. At the beginning, I want to do a sweet wine. That's why the origin, I have planted the Chenin. But when I make the first and the second vintage with a liquorous wine, I try to make a dry Chenin. And the result was just amazing. And since the beginning, I start to manage the Chenin in the 400 liters barrels, and the result was so beautiful that I never change the recipe. I take care to be not oaky in the wine, because I don't like oaky wines. I work in the 2 way. I'm working with a great chef in the great gastronomy, and I am working also in the winemaking. And for me, the barrels, it's like the spaces in the kitchen. If you put too much barrels, it's like if you put too much salt in your dish. That's not good. But that's not because few people put too much salt in the plate that you must stop to salt your dish. That's not possible. I like to find the harmony in the wine, and for me, barrels in the winemaking of the white wine in Chenin working very well because you have a high level of acidity in Chenin, high level of alcohol, and the complexity of the polyphenolic that give by the oak could make a real exceptional balance of the wine. That's why I have chosen to work with this kind of winemaking, and I still working like that. I'm really happy with the result.
Fantastic. Alicia, hopefully that answers your question.
Yes, thank you, Bertrand.
You're welcome. Thank you.
So I remember when we had this at dinner, I'm sure there was a little part of Bertrand that was thinking we've got to increase sales, but there wasn't very much of this available when we started to bring this in. And I was very lucky, very excited to bring in that small amount. And I'm even more excited that it's worked as well as it has. And hopefully we'll be able to get more as the production increases.
So production will be increases. I have planting 1 hectare more. So it's going to grow maybe in 21 or 22.
C'est magnifique. Fantastic. So from there, let's jump back to the Gouleyant. And we'll do the Gouleyant Malbec.
So this is the first wine of Gouleyant. Of course, at the beginning, we didn't have some white wine. Is coming after. We start with the Malbec Gouleyant in the 70s. So we want to do this wine because we want to show that Malbec from Cahors could be very elegant and easy to drink. And of course, it wasn't the way that a lot of people thinking about Cahors, because in Cahors, if you have planted the vineyard in the bad place, close too close to the river, you could have rustic tannins, polyphenolic. And in the 70s, so many wines showing very tannic and astringent, and we want in the Vigouroux company to show something really different. And that's why my dad and I follow this way. We work first to put the vine to make the Gouleyant and the other cuvée in the right place. That's making the big difference. If you have a rustic Malbec because it wasn't planted in the good block, you can't make elegant Malbec in the winery. It's not possible because the quality of the polyphenolic it's made in the vineyard, not in the cellar. So the first way in the 70s and in the 80s was to choose the best place for the Malbec around Cahors. You know, Cahors, it's a lot of diversity of terroir. It's not homogeneous. And so we have to take care about where is planted the grapes. And we work 20 years around this topic to plant and to replant the vineyard of Malbec on the right place. So that's a blend with vine planting on a limestone terroir. And this is a soil from the Jurassic in terms of geological period, and it's a blend with some vine planted in the Quaternaire ancien, former Quaternaire, in the third period of geological time, and it's very interesting because on the Jurassic, the Malbec is very elegant. The tannins are very silky, and in the Quaternaire, former Quaternaire, the Malbec is more fat and is more full in the mouth, but sometimes it could be a little bit more rustic. So when you make a right balance between the two origins of the Malbec in Cahors, you could make a nice blend, elegant, soft, drinkable, and very interesting to share around a simple barbecue with some friends.
I agree. It is always, this is the wine that brought us together. Michael Alberghetti, our old friend, brought this wine to us, and immediately at a retail price here in the States of $9.99, it is unbelievable to have this quality at that price point. So thank you, first off. And just please keep it coming, and we got to try to keep that price as low as possible. I do want to mention to everyone the support that you and many of the wineries in in France have supported us with pricing to be able to post tariff, be able to maintain our price points, especially on items like this. So, merci beaucoup.
You're welcome.
Yeah, if there's any questions on the Gouleyant Rouge Malbec, one question that I had was to ask the blend on this. I'm sure changes with every vintage. You have on the current vintage here about 15% Merlot. Is that typical, or are there any other grapes?
No, the main in Chateau De Marchasse we have two grapes. For the red wine is mainly Malbec, and the secondary grapes is Merlot. And I think it's really interesting to blend Merlot with Malbec. That's working very well to increase the complexity of the cuvée and to make a wine always easy to drink. Even if the wine is great, it must be easy to drink. Too much wine are sometimes with good rate, but they're not drinkable. And my way is to work for the consumer, not to work for the rate or to work to the label drinker. It's to work for the most important part of the customers, and for me the quality is universal. It's the same for everyone all over the world, even in Asia, in Europe, or in America. When you have good wine, you have a good wine. It's good for everybody. When it's bad, it could be bad for some wine, but not so bad for the others. When it's good, it's good. And to try the well balance between the combination with the different terroir and the different blocks, and also with a little bit of blending grapes could make a subtle difference at the end in the bottle. So that's why I want to increase the concentration. You see in the Vassal, you have much more power in the wine, but it's still very elegant, very soft, and is what I want to have in wine, and of course with a Malbec, we call that gourmand. We need it very gourmand. So the color of the Vassal is very dark.
We're going to go ahead and move on to the Vassal de Mercues.
I think we had a question, Joe, about the blending. Someone asked if it's common to have Merlot and Malbec.
It's common.
Is that a regional thing or just something that you do?
No, it's since the beginning of the 70s, a lot of people plant Malbec, mainly 80, 85, 90%, and some Merlot. Because, you know, Malbec, my point of view, that's a really beautiful grape. Maybe one of the most beautiful grapes in the world. But it's like some singers. It's a diva, and the diva, like a diva, could give you the best or the worst, and sometimes Malbec is not easy to manage, really not easy. That's why a lot of winemakers stop to work with Malbec. Because it is really difficult to manage the Malbec. Sometimes is very generous, but sometimes not. And so it's not easy to have a big difference average. Because sometimes it could give you 1 or 2 tons per hectares, like what we had in 19, in 17, in 16, and sometimes it could give you too much grape, and so you need to do vendange verte, green harvest in July, because you have too much grape. So you have to spend a lot of money again to decrease the yield in the block. So it's not easy to make a Malbec. But when you apprivoiser, the same word, apprivoise?
No.
Comment on dit apprivoiser in English? Never mind. When you want to increase your knowledge about the Malbec, you have to understand how is growing, what is needed to growing, where the ground is great for it, and then you understand a lot of things about the Malbec. But to be sure, you need 1 knife, maybe 2, to understand how to manage Malbec.
And when you say that sometimes Malbec isn't very giving, you're speaking to fruit. And so on those years, maybe the Merlot is important because it softens up the Malbec?
Because Merlot could help you to well balance when Malbec is very strong, very rich, to make a better balance in terms of drinkability.
Very good. So we're on to the Vassal. Can I ask you to speak a bit to that, to this wine?
About?
You've been making this wine for how many, and can you explain the name?
So the name of the Vassal is because the history. You know, in France, we had in the Middle Age the king, and around the king you have the seigneur, and after the seigneur, the guy who helped the seigneur to be a seigneur was the vassal. and it was the name of the people who turn around the senior in the Middle Age. So I was thinking it's a nice name for the cuvée because in Chateau De Marchasse it was a palace for the seigneur from Cahors until the 19th century, the 13th century to the Middle Age, and so the Vassal in this case, it's the second wine of the chateau, the wine that helped to introduce the Malbec from Cahors and the Malbec from Chateau de Mercues to the consumer. And this wine is very important for a first introduction of the Malbec from Cahors to the people who don't know anything about Cahors, to the people who don't know anything about the great wines with high concentration of Cahors. It's a good step and a good introduction.
This is, again, that same blend of 85% Malbec with about 15% Merlot.
Yes,
I am
it is.
also noticing that we, in putting together these packets, we have a lot of information that came at us all at once since it was the first year of doing it. And I believe that everyone has probably a working knowledge in French, but the tech sheets for the Vassal are 100% in French. So we will sneak out to everyone the English version of the technical sheet. And Christopher, if I could ask you to send that English version to me, I will make sure to get that out to everyone. But I do love to scan and see how much French I have yet to learn.
We can see that.
So this is...
I make better wine than him, but he speaks very well English and better than me.
Bertrand, your English is outstanding. So keep it up.
No, that's wrong.
Not at all, my friend.
Maybe we must speak French. You speak better French than I speak English.
So as far as the oak aging on this wine, and how does are there certain plots that go into this that do not go into the primary?
Oh, the selection between Chateau and Vassal it's made since the beginning when we prune the vineyard. We have the blocks for the Vassal, and we have the blocks in the vineyard for the Chateau De Mercues and the Icon or 66 cuvée. Why? Because to have a good value for quality in the Vassal, we don't have a high density of plantation, but 4,000 plant hectares in the vineyard. So it's a specific block. And then, of course, for the high level of quality of Chateau de Marchasse, we increase the part of high density of plantation. That's a cost to manage high density of plantation, but that's very, very important for to give concentration to the wine. So here in the Vassal, we don't look for too high concentration. We look for drinkability to make a first step, a first approach of the wine and of the Malbec for Cahors. We need elegant, middle concentration, and that's a way that we want to give to the Vassal de Mercues.
It's beautiful wine. The maceration period, do you have a longer time that the skins hang with the Merlot and or Malbec before going to barrel?
Depends of the vintage, of course, but the skin with the wine stay in tanks around 20 days, between 16, 17 to 21, 22. Depends, of course, of the vintage. For example, we are making the 2020 now, and the concentration of the grape is really high because we had very early blooming in May, and during the summer we had good rain in May and June and beginning of July, very warm during the summer, and now we have Malbec very rich, really rich. So we must take care about the concentration of polyphenolic inside the cuvée, the new cuvée. So we won't have a long cuvaison with the 2020. So we manage that every year and follow the concentration of the wine, tasting the tanks every day. Of course, to see if the balance is well made, or if the vine need more maceration. So it could wait 20, 21 days. For example, in 19 we need to wait. In 17 we need to wait, and in 20 we need to wait less.
Very cool. We have the Grand Vin next.
Next Grand Vin.
And that we have the 2015 vintage. So where are you in way of the harvest for 2020? How far along are you into it?
I think we are going to finish to harvesting the 2020 in maybe Thursday or at the end Friday, no more. So today it's 60%, 65% of the vineyard harvested, and we expect to finish at the end of the week.
And the fruit has been looking good with that nice weather that we've had through spring and summer.
Yes, I'm so happy to make this 2020 because I expect to have a great vintage. You know, the year was not easy for a lot of people in the world. Very difficult for people, very difficult for the business in general, for the restaurants. It was very difficult. But I think this amazing year will be printed on the label of the vintage of many bottles. And I'm so happy to make a good wine for this vintage because I'm sure that people in the future like to buy some 2020 to put it in the cellar and just to wait to drink maybe a few bottles every year during maybe 50 years and to remember what's happened in 2020 and to say, wow, what this year. It was incredible. And for that, they need to have a good wine and easy to average in bottle in a good cellar, and to have a good wine in 10 years, in 20 years, in 50 years, and just to remember what's happened in 20. And to share with some friends this epopee, as we said in France, of the year 20.
Absolutely. I hope that I am sure that the wine will beat out most memories of the year.
Yes, that is the
Except, of course,
the
this memory of getting to spend an afternoon with you. So tell us a little bit about the concept of the Grand Vin, what your goal is for it, and a little bit about its vinification.
So my goal in the Grand Vin and the Grand Cuvée, it's to, of course, to increase the concentration of the wine, of the Malbec, to show a big boy, but with elegance. And I don't want to make a compromise with the finesse of the wine. I want the power and the elegance. And it was my first worry when I started to work 30 years ago in winemaking, because so many winemakers told me, wow, Cahors is very rustic. You have to take care about short vinification, low temperature, and because if you go to the extraction too far, the wine is not drinkable. And I have learned that's not really true. The matter of the Cahors before wasn't the winemaking, it was the vine growing. And so my first work was to focus on the terroir matter, where the Malbec give you elegant grapes with elegant polyphenolic. And at the second step, it was to replant one part of the vineyard that planted in the 70s with a good Malbec, because you have different kind of Malbec. And all what it was planted in the 70s around Cahors wasn't so good, to tell you the truth. And my first choice was to change that in the 80s. So I make a lot of work for that, a lot of invest. But I am so happy with the results today, because I have chosen the best place for the Malbec. I have chosen the best Malbec grapes, because you have different clones, and the good combination between the rootstock with the Malbec, because some rootstock make very bad Malbec. So we did a lot of research and work on the vine growing. And after 20 years of work, we had the first blocks, very beautiful, in Chateau de Marchasse, and make a big difference between us and our competitor in Cahors. And maybe that's why, the region Occitanie, it's the first region of the world in terms of vine making and vine growing. And we were, in 10 years, we had 5 wine in the top 100 of Wine Spectator. And my company had for Cahors 3 times in the top 100. I think today we could say in Occitanie, that means Southwest plus Languedoc, Cahors is back in terms of high quality of wine, and is back also at the top quality. And it was very great for me to see that today, after two generations of working, my dad and me, and to show Chateau De Mercues again, close to the best wine in the world. We were at the top 100 in December with 16, and the result is there, and that's very important for us because we make a lot of work for that.
Congratulations on that.
Thank you, Joe.
At this point, I'm going to go ahead and open it up for any questions. If there's any questions you are interested in asking Bertrand or Christopher, we can throw those in the chat. Or at this point, please feel free to unmute and ask a question yourself. Fantastic. So I have to say that one of the challenges we always have with Zoom is how much more freely we are able to get such great presenters like yourself that answer all the questions before anyone has to ask them. So Bertrand, again, you nailed it. Merci beaucoup, monsieur.
Merci, Joe. Merci à tous.